Peace and love, everybody, and welcome to another Sunday Hope and Healing session. I'm your host, Royce Fletcher Thomason. I'm a pain elimination specialist, a minister, a spiritual teacher, and just a man on his journey and sharing as much love and light as I can with those of you who are on your journey, whatever that journey might be. And so during the Sunday Hope and Healing sessions, we utilize, we share insights, wisdom, different things that we believe will help you on your life's journey as it relates to your spirituality, as it relates to your physical health, as it relates to your overall sense of well-being. And we actually frequently, I will actually provide healings during the Sunday Hope and Healing session, utilizing a methodology referred to as Transcending the Matrix, which really integrates the totality of a person's beingness, recognizing that we're not just physical beings, though we have things going on in our physical bodies, in our body temples, if you will. There's a relationship between physical health, mental and emotional well-being, as well as what's going on from a spiritual standpoint within you. All of these end up having a physical impact, and actually they all interact and influence one another. And so our focal point for today, or our theme for today, if you will, is why deal with managing pain when it can be eliminated? You know, there are a lot of people who deal with physical pain and deal with other types of pain as well, and work on managing that pain. There's a whole aspect of the medical industry that deals with pain management. Occasionally, someone will endeavor to refer to me as dealing with pain management, and I never go for that. So, I don't deal with managing pain. I deal with eliminating pain. You know, a lot of times people will engage in different types of self-medicating, maybe self-medicating through different types of recreational drugs, or self-medicating through promiscuous sex, or self-medicating through electronic devices, or self-medicating with alcohol, or self-medicating with being all up in other people's business. Find different ways of managing their own pain because they don't really quite get that the pain can actually not just be managed, not just be masked, but actually be eliminated from its root cause. All right. And so when we talk about eliminating pain, we're talking about getting rid of the source of the pain. Now, a lot of people deal with pain, and in reality, it's part of the human condition. It's something that every human being every soul who enters into a body, a physical body in this earth realm, will experience some type of pain at some point in the journey, right? It may manifest as physical pain, but it's probably going to manifest as some emotional pain minimally. And really what that's actually even still dealing with is a degree of needing to resolve something spiritually, right? Needing to resolve something spiritually. And so the way this thing works is, if we end up feeling some type of pain in our physical bodies, or we end up actually having some type of physical dis-ease that we might end up experiencing in our body temple, where something is out of alignment, where something is out of balance, where something isn't operating in the way that it was designed to operate, then it's pointing to an imbalance that is going on somewhere else within our beingness. The body is essentially a messenger. Our physical bodies are essentially a messenger to us about what's going on inside of us. I have a good friend, Nafis Hassan, who was he was actually on a Sunday Hope and Healing session one time. We went 2 hours that day. Every time he and I have conversations, it's always rich. It's always a wonderful conversation, and I wanted other people to be able to benefit from the kinds of conversations that he and I have. So we essentially had a conversation on the Sunday Hope and Healing session. This was back a few months ago. And so at any rate, I remember we were having a conversation one time and he said, the only part of the body that lies is the mouth. The only part of the body that lies is the mouth. And I don't know if that was not an original saying of Nafis or not. But what I do know is that it was true. That it was a very true statement. Okay. Everything in the body is giving us an indication of what's going on within us on some level of what's going on within us. And I've seen this over and over and over and over and over again. Okay. I've said on many occasions that if something is going on in your physical body, then it's something that was not resolved emotionally. If there's something that wasn't resolved emotionally, there was something that wasn't resolved mentally. If there's something that wasn't resolved mentally, it's something that was unresolved spiritually. And see, the way that this thing works is that if there's something going on in the spiritual realm and we don't resolve that, it makes its way into the mental, into the emotional, and eventually into the physical body. And if the issue makes its way into the physical body, it's a message saying to us, listen, I need to get your attention. I need to get your attention. And so where an issue shows up in the body is an indication of what's going on, right? So our bodies, the scriptures say that we were awesomely and wonderfully made. Some translations will say fearfully, but perhaps a more accurate understanding in terms of how we use language today would be awe. We're awesomely and wonderfully made. It's amazing what these physical bodies are capable of doing. It's amazing. It's mind-boggling. Each of us have these physical bodies. Greetings to both Jennifer Bliss and to Marissa Carson. Good to have you both here with us today. So these physical bodies are really magical instruments. It's not who it's not who we are. It's not what we are, but they are instruments for through which we experience life on planet Earth. All right. And so these finely tuned pieces of machinery are so profoundly well designed. Each of us has a highly complex piece of machinery that we're operating, and the machinery that we're operating actually operates according to the programming that has been placed in the machinery. Now, on some level, a lot of this programming was based on factory settings, how we were originally designed, the divine blueprint according to which our physical structures were designed in the infinitely wise mind of God. God knew us before we were knitted in our mother's womb. The infinitely wise, beautifully expansive mind of God. A plan was placed for our physical structure well before we were ever conceived. And so generation from one generation to another, starting with the first human, all right? The things that our bodies are made of, the things that our bodies are physically made of. Peace and love to you, Rocky. Good to see you this morning. The things that our bodies are physically made of is the same stuff that exists within the earth itself. And so like when the scriptures say that we are made from the earth, We're made from the dirt. Literally, the stuff that our bodies are made of is stuff that was in the womb of the earth and rose to the surface of the earth through the process of volcanic eruption. And so we need to actually put those things back into our bodies that our bodies were initially made of, right? Like iron and copper. We're carbon based, at our source. And these different minerals we need to continue to place in our physical bodies to help sustain them, and as well as water, which is roughly 3/4 of what our physical bodies are made of, just like it's roughly 3/4 of the surface of the earth. And just like water is 3/4 of the surface of the earth, our bodies are simply serving as the surface of our beingness, right? And if something has made its way to the surface, if something has made its way into our physical bodies to manifest in some kind of way, in some form of dis-ease, and some form of pain, something that has the body out of what's referred to as a state of homeostasis, then it's because there was something deeper that was going on before. And so in the infinite wisdom of God, God created us as these highly complex pieces of machinery. Our physical bodies as these highly complex pieces of machinery comprised of millions upon billions upon trillions of cells, over 1 million just in a single fingernail, right? And so you've got cells all over your body. You've got muscle tissue cells. You've got blood cells. You've got skin cells. You've got cells that are part of your immune system. You've got cells that are part of your reproductive system, right? In fact, you started off as two singular cells that came together as one sperm cell from your from your father, and one egg cell from your mother. And that sperm cell united with that egg cell, thus fertilizing it. And the first cell, the result of that fertilization is the first cell that your physical body grew from. And from that one cell grew all of these millions upon billions upon trillions of cells, which is all your physical body is a collection of different cells that each have their own job, that each have their own purpose, that each have their own function, that each have their own responsibility. And all of them are designed to serve the greater good of the whole body. And your body itself is designed as a way for you to express from your inner beingness, right? You to express from your inner beingness. Now, what happens is that sometimes along life's path, we end up having things that come up. Talked about the machinery operates according to the programming that it has. Now, let's talk about this programming. This programming, part of this divine programming, was designed by God. You do things like digest food without thinking about it. You don't have to consciously think about digesting food. You don't generally consciously think about breathing. You don't consciously think about blood pumping through your body or your heart beating, right? You don't think about this, all right? These are things that just kind of happen automatically. That's part of the divine design, right? You growing taller, or you having actually, you can get a cut on your hand, and that cut on your hand will heal all its own, because that was part of the programming of your machinery, the programming of your physical body by God, right? The body's actually designed to be able to heal itself. It's designed to be self-regenerating. That's all part of the initial program, right? Now, there's divine programming, and then there's other type of programming. that we've experienced. All right. Now, the divine programming is always something that is for our good. There's other programming that is stuff that we have to work through. Okay. Now, remember before I was talking about our bodies are made up of all these millions and billions of trillions of cells that all have their own job, their own function, their own responsibility. Well, guess what? Each cell also has a brain. Each cell of your body has consciousness, right? And similarly, it also has the ability to remember things. All right. So whereas the brain exists in your head, the mind actually exists within every cell of your body. Right? The mind actually exists within every cell of your body. And so, there was a book written many years ago, is that true? Change your mind, change your life. Oh, well, I'm not sure if what I was about to say is true or not. I know there have been several books. I know that Dr. Daniel Amen wrote a book on change your brain, change your life. But I think change your mind, change your life was already out before that. Anyway, what happens in terms of this programming other than the divine programming that impacts what goes on in our physical structure? Deals with things that we've actually taken in, right? Every human being on the planet Earth has actually had information that we've been exposed to that communicates something to us other than the divine blueprint according to which God designed us, right? We've all had experiences where we were in one way or another, where it was in one way or another communicated to us that we somehow weren't good enough, or that we were somehow not enough, or that we were somehow too much. In one way or another, each of us has had experiences, and it may be experiences that might be based on your particular environment that you grew up in. It could be based on just things that exist within the collective consciousness of humanity. In China, for instance, it's the most populous place on the planet, country on the planet. The United States of America, where I'm broadcasting from, and where most of the people who tune in from, is the third most populous country on the planet, with like 330 million or something like that. There are like 5 times more people than that living in China, and it actually occupies less physical space. And so in China, a family is only allowed to have one child, right? However, if the child is a girl, they may be allowed an exception to have another child because they're aiming to have male children. All right. Why am I sharing this with you? Because it's just an example of how, in many situations, there is more value that's placed on those who are males than those who are females. Now, there's definitely no innate greater value of a male over a female human. But the way that people sometimes think and operate sometimes places greater value on people based on, in some situations, based on their gender, in some situations, based on their skin complexion, based on their ethnicity, based on their financial status, based on their level of education, right? Based on how cultured they are, based on a lot of different things we as human beings engage in, we experience, but we also contribute to programming about some being greater or lesser than others, right? Which is totally untrue. Okay, which is totally untrue. We all as human beings have values. Back up. correction. We all as souls have value. And having value as souls also means that we have value as people. And a soul is not limited to being wealthy or poor. Soul isn't limited to being male or female. A soul isn't limited to being this or being that. A soul is a soul. A body might be male or female, right? A person might have this or that particular proclivity in their life, might exist in this particular set of circumstances and maybe be free of this particular set of circumstances. But as souls, we all have value. This is what scriptures are talking about when it says God is not a respecter of persons, that we each matter tremendously. We each matter tremendously, but there are a lot of things that are communicated to us in the process of living life that suggest that we're somehow not good enough or that we're somehow too much. And that's a lot of times based on other people's stuff that we take in that programming. Then it might manifest as a parent who wasn't there for us. It might manifest as a parent who was physically there, but emotionally not present. It might manifest as a person who is a parent who was physically and emotionally present, but they just didn't get it right all the time, because no parent ever does, right? It might manifest as something along your life trajectory in your family of origin. You might have felt displaced, or you might have felt that there were needs that you had that went unmet in the midst of other things that were going on within your household or within your family structure, within the family dynamic. Maybe that happens even as you're an adult now, that there are ways that you might feel a little bit different, or there may ways that you might feel that some of your needs are going unmet, or ways that you might feel that you're being unseen, or ways that you might feel that you have to perform, that you have to live out a role in order to be accepted, in order to have value, in order to be loved. There are all of these different things that go on in our life experience that contributes to our programming, and the machinery operates according to how it's programmed. All right, let's just make this, a little bit more plain. Every part of your body represents something, and every issue that you might have that shows up in your body, including this physical pain, where it shows up in your body gives clues and indications to what it is that's really going on. A story that I share it often. I like to share it. The story is from something that happened well over 20 years ago, but to me, it's so relevant. And so I really appreciate the opportunity to share this story. And it's of a lady who was dealing with her ankle being hurt. She had actually had an accident on her bike, fell, twisted and sprained her ankle, and she had been limping. At the time that we crossed paths, she had been limping for 3 months. Okay. She had been limping for 3 months because she had pain that was in that part of her body that she sprained. Okay. And so she could go and get medical treatment, and they would perhaps wrap it. They perhaps put ice on it, maybe heat, depending on the situation. Probably have her elevate her ankle, They might give her some pain medication to manage the pain. And what does pain medication do? What pain medication does is it actually serves as a way of blocking the signal that's going on in the brain that registers the pain that is actually being experienced in that part of the body. So it doesn't get rid of pain, it masks the pain so that you're numb so that you're numb to the pain that's there. And if you're numb, you're not really tuned in. If you're numb, you're not really awake. If you're numb, you're not really alive. If you're numb, you're not really aware. If you're numb, there are messages that are going on that you are missing. There are opportunities that are available that you're missing. And so that's why I talk about I manage pain. I don't believe in managing pain. I believe in addressing it for its source, because if the pain is there, let me say this for anybody who's experiencing any pain, anybody who has ever experienced any pain, when you are having a moment when you're experiencing pain, whether the pain is something that's registering in your body physically, or whether you're feeling sad or angry or hurt about something emotionally, ask the question, what is this pain intended to teach me? What is this pain intended to teach me? And then listen intently for the answer with non-judgment. With non-judgment. Because if the pain is there, there's an opportunity for something deeper to be healed within you. If the pain is there, there's an opportunity for something deeper to be healed within you. Okay? And so in the case of this particular situation, with this lady, it was her left ankle. Now, I share with people all the time, you can choose to believe it or you can choose to not believe it. But what I do know is that doing this for well over 20 years now, working with thousands of people all across the globe, stuff shows up and it ends up getting resolved. And it's resolved because we're not just masking what the issue is, we're addressing the root cause of the issue. We're addressing it at its root. We're not managing the pain. We're not masking the pain. We're addressing it at its root cause and thus eliminating it because we've gotten it up from the root where it's just nothing, where it's just not there anymore. There's nothing there to cause that pain any further, right? And so because it was on the left side of the body, that automatically gave me some information. You look at the left side of the body, it's the feminine side of the body. All right. Particularly if your left side is not your dominant side. But generally speaking, the left side is the feminine side of the body. And everything in the cosmos manifests in masculine or feminine. Okay. In the scriptures, when it said God spoke, when it says in the beginning, God created, right? That action was manifesting as in the masculine. The space in which it was received was manifesting in the feminine, right? And so masculine and feminine exist within all of us. I'm not talking about gender. I'm not talking about sexuality or anything like that. Masculine and feminine principles exist within all of us, right? A battery has a masculine and a feminine side. You take a adapter or a cord. I've got this phone charger that just happens to be sitting right here. This side is masculine. This side that goes in your phone is masculine. What you plug it into is the feminine. So the feminine is the receiving aspect, right? The receiving aspect. It's also like deals with your emotional self, deals with your spiritual self. All of those are things in the realm of the feminine, right? And so the fact that this was her left ankle pointed immediately to the feminine. A lot of people, I've known people that the bulk of their issues, their physical issues, were either on the left side of the body or the right side of the body. Have you known anybody like that who seems to have a lot of different health challenges that show up, or they might have accidents that might manifest one side of the body or the other side of the body? Right? It happens. It happens. Well, what was the root cause of this lady's pain? What was the root cause of her pain? It wasn't her sprained ankle. On the surface level, one would say it was her sprained ankle. One would say it was her sprained ankle because she fell off her bike, right? It's not unreasonable to think that. But the deeper question is, why did she fall off her bike in order to have the sprained ankle? You see, there was a long-standing issue that was that sprained ankle waiting to happen, right? That sprained ankle came as a gift for something deeper to be healed. In this particular case, this lady, when she was born, like my maternal grandmother, like my younger sister, when she was born, she had 2 older brothers. And so when she was born, she had a really prime piece of real estate in the family dynamic. She was the youngest, she was the baby, and she was the only girl. That's a very special place to be in a family unit. But then 13 months after she was born, something else happened. The parents had another baby. So she, at this point, was no longer the baby. She was a middle child, no longer the baby. And the child that they had was also a girl. So she was no longer the only child, the only girl, nor the baby at this point. All right. Now, I'm not saying that she had a bad relationship with her sister, because she did not. But there was something within her inner child that was going on that caused her to, on some level, feel displaced within her family dynamic. And that was an issue that needed to be resolved. We got it resolved in that session, and she walked out of that session for the first time in 3 months without a limp and without that pain in her ankle, because the root cause of the pain in the ankle was this unresolved stuff within her inner child from her younger sister being born 13 months after she was born. Right. And so that issue ended up resolving itself, or that issue ended up registering itself in her ankle. That's where it was sitting, within her ankle. And it was there because it was needing to be resolved. And it showed up there as a way of bringing attention. That was what the real lesson was, of resolving that issue. And we got it resolved. And from that point on, she didn't have that pain in her ankle anymore. We didn't, you know what? Everybody who's on this broadcast, whether you're watching live now or whether you catch a playback later, whether on Facebook or YouTube or wherever else you might catch this, all of you have some garbage in your home, presumably, right now, right? And whether the garbage is a dirty diaper, or whether the garbage is maybe some food that was in the refrigerator that, that has reached its shelf life and it's time to be discarded. If it sits a while, it's going to develop an odor, right? As a matter of fact, if you leave, depending on what it is, if you leave like some collard greens or something like that in your refrigerator too long, some kale, something like that in the refrigerator too long, it will begin to give off gases. It will create gases that actually give off an odor that you'll be able to smell even while it's in the refrigerator, right? There's some things that are organic things that just, once they begin to rot, they'll give off a foul odor. Whether meat or plant will give off a foul odor. And so, I'm a person who has essential oils in my home. I have incense in my home that I burn. I have scented candles. I even have a couple of these little plug-ins. So I believe in my home smelling good. I believe in aromatherapy. I believe that different aromas have their own energetic frequency, they have their own vibration that can contribute to the vibration that I'm wanting to have present in my living space, right? And so I'll use those things. And I've also got Lysol. I've also got cleaning products. Now, if I had something in my garbage, if I had sitting in my trash, and I'm in a new living space, you might recognize that my background is different. I just moved, and so we hadn't had a broadcast the last couple of weeks. I never did acknowledge that. We went two straight weeks without a broadcast in the process of moving, and then last week we had a Transcending the Matrix 20-year of Transcending the Matrix training that was going on, and we still would have had at least a brief check-in, but there was also issues that were taking place with the internet that weekend, just part of what was going on with the process of transitioning into a new space. But fortunately, there's valet trash here, and they come and pick up trash 5 days a week. So that's a benefit. But if you've got trash sitting in your home or sitting in your garage or sitting outside in the trash can for a few days while you're waiting for it to be picked up, you'll eventually smell an odor. And the same would be the case in my home. Now, I could spray Lysol. I could spray some Febreze. I could burn incense. I can put essential oil in a diffuser. I could light candles. I could have my little wallflowers plugged in. All that would mask the pain, but they wouldn't get rid of the pain. Eventually, after the incense burned out, or after I put out the candle, after the Febreze or Lysol wore off, you would smell that smell again because it didn't do anything but mask the smell. It won't do anything but mask the smell. It won't eliminate the root cause of the smell. If you want to eliminate the root cause of the smell, you've got to eliminate that which is stinking up the place in the first place. In other words, you got to take that trash out. Well, we have some things in our lives that are stinking up our lives. We have some areas in our lives where things aren't giving off a beautiful aroma. We got some things in our lives that we feel like stink. Maybe we have some situations in our lives that we're not feeling good about, that we're not thrilled about. Maybe we've got some stuff going on in our body temple that just doesn't feel right. We'd rather do without having that issue. Or maybe we just have some things going on in our life where we feel like things aren't working out too well. Like, this really stinks, and it's going to continue to until we address that issue from the root cause. There's a lady that I worked with, this was over 20 years ago in Michigan. And she said that she was looking for a new home. The reason she was looking for a new home is because she was being harassed by her neighbors. All right. She was being harassed by her neighbors where she lived. And she said this is an issue that seemed to go with her everywhere she seemed to move. She was experiencing herself as being harassed by her neighbors. Okay. And so there was a place where she was really trying to get into in terms of moving to, but she wasn't having any progress on that front. She wasn't hearing back from the people. There's even another place that she wasn't really that thrilled about living there, but she was going to settle for it. And she couldn't even get any feedback back from them either. And so I was talking with this lady, and I said, okay, I could do a treatment for you to help you get this place or that place, but it's not going to do any good if you're carrying with you this vibration of being persecuted wherever you live. You can move to a different place, but you're still taking you with you to that place, and thus still taking unresolved issues existing within you to that place. And so while you might be in a new place, you'd still be carrying with you the same old problems. And so it is with life in so many different ways, right? And so I worked with her on that issue to resolve the being persecuted. Okay. To resolve the issue of being persecuted. I heard back from her a couple of days later. She said she heard back from the place where she really, really wanted to be. And they were ready to have her move in. And even the place where she was going to settle for, she said they were calling her so much she was almost feeling harassed. And so we resolved that issue that was at the root. Now, what the particular thing was that was at the root of her, that I don't recall. Quite frankly, a long time ago, I learned to, when in a treatment, let go of whatever happened in that treatment once it was resolved in that moment. And so ever since then, I don't really hold on to what was the root of a person's issue anymore, which is one of the reasons I like to share that one story that I shared, because that was before I had an experience that taught me who I need to let it go when it comes up. Once it's resolved, I need to let it go and not even hold it in my awareness. And so we addressed that lady's root cause. And that opened up new doors, new opportunities for her, to where she not only ended up having the door open for her to be able to move into a place where she really wanted to be, but also be able to continue her existence without the threat of continued persecution, right? And so there are a lot of stories like this that I've seen and that I've participated in that deal with a person having an issue show up in a particular area of their body or a particular area of their life where the root has needed to be addressed. And once the root is actually addressed, the issue goes away. All right. And so I want to just check in with you all who are here today. Rocky, Marissa, Monique, Jennifer, or anybody else who might be here today. Is there a particular area in life where you've experienced or are experiencing some challenges? Maybe in terms of physical pain, maybe in terms of some mental or emotional discord that you've got going on? If so, please let me know. The way that we actually started off doing these hope and healing sessions, we actually started them off on a Wednesday in April of 2000, right kind of at the start of the coronavirus pandemic, when everything was locked down and everybody was at home. And then when things started to open up, we ended up moving it to Sunday. But the way that it actually started off happening was really to address people, to offer healing during the broadcast. And we would have people who would actually come on during the broadcast. We'd either address it in the chat, or I'd actually bring them on into the broadcast where you could hear their voice and or see them on camera as well. But if anybody, well, first of all, I know there's something you got going on in your life, because we all do. That's just how life on earth goes. We'll continue working out stuff until we don't have stuff to work out anymore. That's kind of what we sign up for in being born as a human and living for a little while, right? And so if you've got, it may be a physical pain that you've got somewhere in your body. It may be, something that, is just a little bit challenging for you in this or that particular area of your life. So feel free to share that. I'll be more than happy to work with you, do some healing on that right here, right during the broadcast. So let me know, and I'll offer some support. It doesn't matter that I'm in Florida and you are wherever on the planet you are. I shared with you earlier that I've worked with people all over the world in terms of their healing and seeing really what's referred to as miraculous results take place. But guess what? I just got my passport this summer. So I haven't traveled all over the world physically, other than Canada and Mexico. And Mexico wasn't really Mexico. It was just Tijuana, right on the other side of California, way back in the day, 1978, maybe again in '88. But people have experienced this healing all over the globe. So it doesn't matter. Back in the day, when there was MySpace and another one I was on was called Black Planet, I'd actually go in chat rooms on those platforms. This is like before the days of Facebook even. I would go in chat rooms and actually do healing there, and people would experience healing online. I wouldn't even be verbally talking with them. They wouldn't be verbally talking with me. Okay, so Rocky says, "Oh, yeah, I didn't know that you had a heart procedure." Okay, and so you expected to have another procedure this Saturday. Um, okay, so like, what are you experiencing right now as far as your medical situation is going on with your heart? Like, are you having, in terms of the procedure that you're having done, is it like is like there a stent that's being put in? Is it like a bypass that's being done? What type of procedure are you having going on, Rocky? And in the meantime, Marissa mentions about generational issues that she had with her mother, and then now showing up in the relationship with the daughter. Um, Committed to 90 days of affirmations. Okay, good for you for that. There was a time in my life where it was a challenging time, and I was on this thing writing down 40 things I'm grateful for. 40 things I'm grateful for a day for 40 days. Okay. No matter how tired I was or how busy I was, I made sure that I did it every single day. Okay. It might have been in the morning, might have been in the evening, it might have been last thing before I went to bed. It might have been a really long day and I was really ready to go to bed, but I wouldn't go to bed without writing down 40 things I was grateful for. And I never wrote the same thing down twice. So at the end of that 40-day period, I written down 1,600 different things for which I felt grateful. And it really made a huge impact and a huge difference in my life. Okay. All right. So Rocky, I'm seeing your messages. So the heart surgery was Rocky, I wish you would have told me about this. We could have gotten this addressed and resolved. Um, so uh, this past week it was having a stent put in, and this week it's a hip replacement. Is it your left hip or is it your right hip? Remember what I was saying earlier that this even the side of your body that shows up um, points to something that's needing to be resolved. Something it's like your body is serving as a messenger to you. Your body is serving as a messenger to you of um, what was going on. You thought about calling me. I wish that you had acted upon it. I would have been more than happy to offer support. You know, I've said before that nobody that I know needs to be dealing with pain. Because I'm thankful that I'm blessed to be in a position to help people resolve that. Right. I'm very thankful and humble that I'm blessed to be able to serve in that capacity. All right. So if you can tell me which hip that is, the right hip or the left hip. And Marissa, let's look at that issue in terms of what's going on in the mother-daughter relationship, in terms of going both directions, going up and going down with you. Okay. So while I'm waiting on that, I'm just going to kind of briefly, because it's almost 2 o'clock already. So I'm going to just kind of briefly address some of this with Marissa. Okay. God, I know you to be a healer. And through the union we share, through your Holy Spirit and the power of your pure love, I demonstrate you as a healer on the behalf of S. Marissa Carson, neutralizing the root cause of all discord and disharmony in the mother-daughter relationship and her family lineage that she's experienced with her mother and now she's experiencing with her daughter. From the point of the root cause in your entire energetic structure, every strand of DNA and every cell of her body and the bodies and the energetic structure of every person involved, from the point of the root cause, and transmuting it into and replacing it with a divinely right, harmonious, loving, peaceful relationship filled with grace. That supports our highest and best good and the highest and best good of everyone involved. And I bear witness to their wholeness and their wholeness on this date and in this time and space called now. Thank you, God. Thank you for this gift of your divine love. It is done. It is done. It is done. All right. So let's look at. So I've often said that the most complicated relationship in terms of like family dynamics is the mother-daughter relationship. It can be the closest as well as the most challenging. So let's look at this. Let's look at. I want to first of all look at the collective consciousness of women as a whole. Okay, the collective consciousness of women as a whole, and the challenge of mother-daughter relationships as it relates to. Oh, this is something that's coming up that I didn't expect. I want to look at competition between women. So let's help to resolve some of that as it's showing up respective to this issue for you. And like on a primal level, there's been competition amongst women because in ancient days, you know, the female humans had to rely on the male humans for physical protection, right? For physical protection and provision. It was just the way that the dynamic was set up, right? And so it was an issue of survival. So let's look at this manifestation of this survival mechanism, even manifesting in terms of the mother-daughter relationship. Okay, and a sense of competition as it relates to the mother-daughter relationship. Okay. All right. Now let's look also at let's look at just issues within the family lineage, because it doesn't just relate to the three of you, your mother, you, and your daughter. It goes deeper than that. So let's go back 24 generations. Resolving this issue 24 generations back. Being passed down from generation to generation to generation to generation. and resolve that whole lineage going back 24 generations. And actually, let's go forward in terms of future generations too. All right. So resolving that issue with future generations as well. All right. Now let's also deal with like the belief system that, and this might be something that you consciously believe, or it might not. It doesn't have to be something that you consciously believe. But let's deal with this belief system that this is just the way that it is between mothers and daughters. This is just the way that it has been and likely will continue to be. Okay, we want to deal with that from the standpoint of like different stories that you might have heard in your lifetime of other people's challenges. And that those generations of women within your family unit or within your family lineage has experienced. Okay, all right, that's looking better. All right, now, Marissa, when you think about your relationship with your mother and when you think about your relationship with your daughter, just put in the chat, how do you feel about it when you think about those relationships now? And I'm going to keep working even while you're typing it. I know it's on a delay from the time that I say it until the time that you actually hear it. So let's look at okay, I see you found that your grandmother was adopted. So let's look at issues of abandonment. All right. Issues of abandonment. And replace the sense of abandonment with being accepted, being embraced, and being chosen. Okay. If your grandmother is adopted, that means that somebody chose her. And where there's that feeling, maybe even on a deeply subconscious level, of maybe not being or feeling chosen by her biological parents, she was chosen by somebody. Somebody chose her. All right. And so let's look at that feeling chosen, being and feeling chosen, going up the family lineage within you and going down the family lineage to make sure that those are all strong connections there. Speaking of which, feeling disconnected from family of origin. So let's embrace that right now. All right. So let's create a sense of connection to family origin. All right. Now, see, here's an issue. Remember when I talked about if something shows up in the physical, what's going on in the emotional, what's going on in the mental, what's going on in the spiritual. If it's not resolved at the higher levels, it makes its way down into the lower levels because ultimately the lesson needs to be learned on some level. Any issue that we have with a parent, whether that is our mother or with our father, on some level, that's always going to be pointing to our relationship with God, right? Our relationship with God. And so I'm not saying that this starts with your, conscious awareness of your creator. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is if there's an experience of feeling disconnected, on some level with your parent, whether mother or father, it's pointing to you on another level feeling disconnected from God, feeling cut off from God. So we want to strengthen that connection in terms of your family lineage, of feeling connected with God. Now, the way that we communicate frequently is we tend to refer to God in the context of the masculine. Okay. But God is a father to the fatherless and a mother to the motherless. All right. God is not restricted to gender like created beings are, right? Um, okay, so let's look at that. Let's look at a sense like on a spiritual level, in terms of the family lineage, feeling a disconnect, the disconnect from mother in connection with feeling a disconnect with feminine aspects of God. Okay, when I talk about masculine or feminine aspects of God, like provider would be like a masculine aspect, if you would. Okay, nurturing, which is certainly also an aspect of God, would be part of the more feminine aspect, if you will, right? All right, so let's look at this feeling cut off from a sense of divine nurturing, feeling cut off in terms of the collective consciousness of humanity, of God being only masculine. And therefore, an aspect of motherhood being discounted. And a sense of the importance of the mother being discounted or devalued, either as a mother or from the standpoint of the offspring towards the mother. All right, that's where the break is. So let's resolve that and strengthen that. All right, so Marissa, in terms of when you think about your relationship right now with your mother and you think about your relationship right now with your daughter, how do you describe how you feel about those relationships right now? Do you feel worse, the same, or you feel encouraged, feel a little better about them? Because everything that I'm mentioning, as it comes up, we're resolving it. We're resolving it also. And let me just share this. When I talk about all of it being connected spiritually, all of the areas where we have pain or we have discord or we have issues going on in our lives that aren't resolved, okay, every single time, it's something that we've stored somewhere in our bodies, where we're registering somewhere in our bodies. And what we've essentially done with it is we put it away in a room, close the door, maybe even throwing away the key, because we don't like that feeling. We don't like that painful, uncomfortable feeling. And so we try to keep anything from touching it. If you've got a pain on your physical body and it hurts to the touch, you want to keep somebody from touching it. If there is a pain that you feel emotionally, you want to keep somebody from touching that too. And so you'll tuck it away in an effort to try to protect yourself. But what you're also doing is you're cutting yourself off from the light of God's love entering into that space. And so every area in our lives where there's an issue, where there's an unresolved issue, what the real issue in that situation is that we've not exposed that particular thing to the light of God's love. And what we're essentially doing, even in this work that I'm doing right now, is welcoming in the light of God's love into the space where that pain or that discord or that unresolved issue is dwelt. So every sickness, every dis-ease is as a darkness, if you will. The darkness isn't something that we need to curse. It isn't something that we need to banish. It isn't something that we need to be afraid of. Darkness at its core is simply the lack of light. It's not really a thing unto itself. It's just the lack of light. Okay? It's just the lack of light. And so when you bring in the presence of the light, the darkness just automatically disappears, right? The darkness just automatically disappears. If you go into a dark room, you don't have to get mad at the darkness. You don't have to chase it away. You don't have to banish it. You don't have to, do all of these things. All you have to do is turn on the light, flick the light switch, And if there's power running to the light switch, the light comes on, the darkness goes away, and the light prevails. Right? That's just how it is. And that's what's happening with us. That's this work that we're doing here. I'm glad, Marissa, to see that you're feeling a sense of encouragement as it relates to these relationships. Okay. All right. And so I'm going to go ahead and close this out right now. We're already like 8 minutes over. So I'm going to close this out right now with respect to you, Marissa. If you've got any further issues or whatever, feel free to reach out to me on Facebook or on Instagram at Royce Fletcher Thomason, or on Instagram at Transcending the Matrix, or Facebook at Transcending the Matrix. We've got a Transcending the Matrix group on Facebook. Feel free to join that if you like. Kudos, by the way, to the new initiates of Transcending the Matrix who were in the training last week. Many blessings to you all. Really grateful for the wonderful things I saw happen within these folks last weekend and this week. So, God, thank you so much for this. This infusion of your love and your light into the places and spaces within the family dynamics of these generations of women that Marissa's experienced, and for the healing that you've brought about, and for the blessing of being able to participate. Thank you, God, for these and all of the other blessings that you so bountifully and brightly bestow. It is done, it is done, it is done in Yeshua, in Hashem Yeshua HaMashiach, Ashe, and Amen. All right, you're very welcome. It was my pleasure, my sister. Okay, and Rocky, in terms of your right hip, do you have pain you're experiencing in your right hip right now? I sure wish we would have known about this before, because you would have ended up not having to have that hip replaced. But if you're having pain that you're experiencing in your right hip right now, Rocky, if you could please put on a scale of 0 to 10, with 0 being no pain at all, and 10 being the most excruciating pain you could ever possibly imagine, where would you say that you would rate that level of pain that you're experiencing right this minute? A 20. Okay. All right. 20. So that means that's some pretty intense level of pain. So God, I know you to be a healer. And through the union we share through the power of pure love and your Holy Spirit, I demonstrate you as a healer on the behalf of Raquel Ortiz, neutralizing the root cause of all pain and discomfort that she's experiencing in her right hip. The root cause level. In every strand of DNA in every cell of her body, and transmuting it into a right hip that feels better than it did when she was 3 years old and had never experienced any problems with it. It feels youthful and vibrant, and she is having a party in her right hip as well as in her left hip, and joyously being able to celebrate that with youthful invigoration. And I bear witness to her wholeness on this date and in this time and space called now, God. Thank you. Thank you for this gift of your divine love. It is done. It is done. It is done. All right. So let's look at this right now in terms of this right hip. Let's look at in terms of like your walk through life. Okay. And addressing difficulties that you've had in your walk through life as a human in this physical world. Okay. And like some of the challenges that you might have faced in terms of kind of navigating the physical world in terms of your walk and your life journey. Okay. All right. And so I want to look specifically in terms of your relationship, some of the relationships that might have manifested with men. Because whereas the left side of the body is the feminine side of the body, the right side of the body is the masculine side of the body. And just like that lady who had the issue with her left ankle was tied to a female, her little sister. Sometimes issues on the right side of the body could be tied to men or males. All right, so let's look at this. All right, let's look at 11 different relationships. You don't have to figure out what those relationships are. They don't have to be necessarily romantic relationships. That could be included in that, but certainly doesn't have to mean that. You don't have to worry about figuring out what those relationships were. It's just like clear out some unresolved issues as it relates to those 11 relationships. And bring into those places and spaces within you, within your beingness, that has had pain there as it related to you walking out your journey in relationships with these people. Bring the light of God's love into that space for healing and for transformation to occur, to bring peace, to bring self-love, to bring forgiveness, and to bring a sense of divine empowerment. Yeah, let's optimize that sense of divine empowerment. Being profoundly empowered by God to walk this thing out in your life journey. Okay. A lot of this really keeps being connected to this issue of walking, that your walk through life, your journey through life. Okay, so let's get this resolved. Okay, and Rocky, whenever you get a chance, please jot in the chat where you would rate the discomfort in your hip right now in this moment on that 0 to 10 scale, which you previously mentioned is 20. Okay. Okay, all right, down from a 20 to a 7 in a span of 5 minutes. Okay, so that's definitely some progress. Let's look at your work life. That's that's coming up as a significant connection with this hip issue. This is your work life, like in terms of you like working for money. Stuff as it relates to that. So let's actually balance that out to relationship between balancing the need for physical sustenance with creativity, and you nurturing your spiritual self, not having to put your spiritual self on the back burner to meet your physical needs, but being able to integrate the two and know that you're divinely taken care of and well taken care of. And the more, and this doesn't have to relate to like things going on right now. I see you commented that you work from home. It doesn't have to relate to things right now. This just in terms of the span of your life. Like that lady that I mentioned earlier, her sister was born when she was 13 months old, but the issue showed up in her late 40s or early 50s. Okay. All right. So let's balance that out in terms of creating a sense of harmony between your work that you do for money and your relationship with God and your sense of commitment to your divine purpose for being on the planet. All right. So actually feeling like you can walk in your purpose without feeling, like you can walk in your purpose without feeling pain, without it being painful for you. So let's deal with right now, like any sense of feeling like spiritually attacked. And so we want to resolve that, and reprogram in the knowledge that you have been given power over all the power of the enemy. Okay. So, and that no weapon that is formed against you will prosper. That the weapons may form, but they won't prosper. Okay. And that you are able to make your enemy your footstool. And so anything that comes at you, you just use as a stepping stone to go up to the next level. And that doesn't have to happen through pain. That doesn't have to have pain as a requirement for your growth, for your elevation. All right, so on a scale of 0 to 10, where would you rate the discomfort in your right hip right now on that 0 to 10 scale? And I'll keep working even while you're putting that down. All righty, so okay, down to a 5 now. All righty. All right, so in 9 minutes, we've got it from a 20 to a 5. Let's see if we can get it down even a little bit further than that. So let's look at like doing things out of a sense of obligation and feeling like you've got to do things out of a sense of obligation, doing things that you really don't want to do because you're feeling like you're obligated to do. And resolving that with being able to do everything that you do from a space of pure love and not having to do anything out of a sense of obligation or out of a sense of guilt. That was a big issue. Not having to do anything out of a sense of guilt. The sense of doing things out of a sense of guilt come from that programming that I was talking about before. All right. Things that may have come up in terms of just stuff that you were taught growing up, or things that, through life experiences, where you might have been extended invitations to guilt trips or invitations to pity parties. Okay. You don't have to accept, you don't have to travel on any more guilt trips nor accept any more invitations to any pity parties, nor extend them to other people. So let's resolve this so that you're not putting anybody on a guilt trip or passing out invitations to any pity parties. All right, but able to truly walk in a sense of divine empowerment, being divinely empowered, being a true inspiration just in the living of your life. All right. Boost that up and optimize that. And knowing that you are a walking, living, and breathing miracle. All right. Knowing that you are a walking, living, and breathing miracle. And joyously share that authentically, and people can just smell it on you. It's a totally different thing than like smelling the garbage that I was talking about, where you just have the aroma of favor that is upon you. And in your presence, people are able to just breathe that in and feel inspired in your presence. Okay. All right, now on that 0 to 10 scale, where would you say the discomfort in your hip is right now? And I just keep on working a little bit more, and we'll close this down soon because we've already gone 20 something minutes over. Okay. All right, so let's look at want to look at the relationship, okay, about a, she says actually it's about a 3 or 4, almost feels like it's not there. Yes, I love seeing that. Man, it was just at a 20, 12 minutes ago. Now saying at a 3 or 4 almost feels like it's not there. So I'm gonna go ahead and do a couple more things and then we'll go ahead and close it out. So let's look at let's look at in terms of your family lineage. All right, so we'll address that family lineage came up before. We'll address family lineage now with you as well. Okay. Let's look at family lineage as it relates to sense of purpose, as it relates to walking a sense of purpose. And let's go back generations that maybe didn't quite understand their sense of purpose, what their purpose was, or just didn't feel like there was the opportunity to pursue that because of other things that had to be done. So let's go back 31 generations back. All right, in your family lineage. On your father's side. Remember, the right side of the body deals with the masculine side of the body. So it wasn't a surprise it showed up in terms of the father's side. All righty. All right. Okay, thank you. Thank you, God. All righty, and let's look at just regeneration of bone, regeneration of muscle tissue, regeneration of nerve endings and sinew. Regeneration of cartilage. Restoring those to optimal levels. Yes. Yes. All right. All right. So that should have you at least a 3, at a maximum at 3. I should say, maybe even be beneath a 3. God, thank you so much for this healing that's taking place in Rocky's life, and manifesting in her right hip, but also all of the other areas that were really connected to the issue that was going on in her right hip. And thank you for the testimony that she is, and for her testimony. And I bear witness to just a deep sense of gratitude within her, within me, within everybody who's aware of the situation, and give you all honor and all glory. In Hashem Yeshua HaMashiach. Amen. All righty. All righty. Well, beloved, it's certainly been my pleasure to be with you here today. I'm glad that you tuned in and for the blessings that you received. Whether it was blessings, you're very welcome, Rocky. Whether it was blessings that manifested in the form of increased awareness, increased knowledge, in terms of some of the information that was shared, and certainly in terms of healing that took place. There was healing that was present for at least a couple of people. And guess what? If you know somebody who's dealing with some similar issues, share this message with them. They might even end up getting a healing out of it. Even though this healing was specifically directed towards Marissa, specifically directed towards Rocky, people that you share this with might end up getting a healing as well. So feel free to share it with them. Text it on your phone, share it on Facebook, or however you share. I do just ask that if you do share it, whether on Facebook or you share the YouTube link or whatever, please say why you're sharing it. If you share something on Facebook and you don't say anything about why you're sharing it, they're probably nobody is going to click on it. But you could maybe share about insight that you got from it, share what you witnessed. That will bless people and it'll encourage people to check it out for themselves. We want as much healing to go forth as possible. People don't have to just suffer in pain. I know that because I've seen it happen over and over and over again. Sometimes people are told that they're going to have to learn to live with this pain, or people are told that they're going to have some surgery or be on this medication for who knows how long. That's only masking the issue, but not really resolving the issue, maybe creating some side effects of its own. But we address the root cause of these situations. We don't just exist physically. We're spiritual beings having a human experience, but ultimately we're spirit. At our core, we're spirit. And it's important that we integrate our spiritual selves with our physical selves, our mental selves, our emotional selves, all of these different aspects of our beingness, that it's all integrated, how we live our lives, that all of that is integrated, in terms of our relationships, in terms of our finances, in terms of the work that we do. We want, as much as possible, integrate the love and the light of God into all of that, right? We want to integrate the love and the light of God into all of that. And so we do these weekly. I encourage you to tune in. If you're not already subscribed to the MatrixHealing YouTube channel, I certainly encourage you to do that. It's MatrixHealing, all one word. Or you can just type in Royce Fletcher Thomason and I'll pop up. And you'll see a video that says MatrixHealing is the publisher of the video. And you can click on that. It'll take you to the channel and you can subscribe and ask to receive notifications of when we're going live, when we're putting new content out there. Really want this to reach as many people as possible. I believe that the technology can do some wonderful things. Having this opportunity of the internet is a way of spreading consciousness, really. There's a lot of negativity that gets spread, but there can also be a lot of encouragement, a lot of hope, a lot of love, a lot of light, a lot of healing that can be shared and that can be spread. And that's what I'm about. That's the life I'm about, right? And so if you feel so guided to share this, I certainly encourage you to do so. God bless you. I wish you well on your journey the rest of the day and the rest of the week and your life as we engage in this journey on life, endeavoring to experience that sustainable state of supreme satisfaction. And until next time, I send you forth with peace and love.